Now let's start with the pledge. Peter, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah!
All right, everyone. Welcome to the January 22nd Tourism Development Council meeting. We'll start with roll call. Who's going to call the roll?
Commissioner Rob Feltner, sorry.
That's okay. Some people call me other things. You can too. Here.
Julie Braga,
Here.
Mayor Andrew Connors,
Here.
Tom Hermanson,
Present.
Larry Jarnes,
Here.
Alex Littross,
Present.
Mayor Rob Medina,
Present.
Wayne Sword,
Here.
Keith Winston.
Keith apologized. He was out of town at a conference, so unable to attend.
Okay, I think we have a quorum, so call the meeting to order. And I think you have a disclosure statement. You want to explain that real quick, Peter, what that's about?
Yeah, I don't know, Alex, if you want to get
Or
into
Alex,
it or
I'm sorry.
not, but, usually annually, we have these disclosure forms that need to be updated. We do them every year.
The financial disclosure thing?
Just the conflict of interest form.
Oh, okay.
Our normal conflict of interest form, yeah.
Okay, I'm not aware of that, but we can have some sort of overview for you guys at the next meeting,
Yeah,
if that works.
yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay, everyone can review it on their own time, and if you have questions, certainly contact Alex. We'll leave it at that. All right, Peter. On item C, I think we have minutes to approve, right?
Yes,
For-
sir, from November meeting.
Right, November 18th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mayor Medina. We have a second by Mr. Hermanson. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Mayor Andrew Connors,
Yes.
Tom Hermanson, Larry Jarnes,
Aye.
Alex Littross,
Aye.
Mayor Rob Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Aye.
Keith Winston, Commissioner Feltner.
Yes. Thank you. We'll show that passes. For the future, just yes and no will work when we do roll call. And I'm sorry, I should have said something about that, but that's my thing. And if you've been watching the commission meetings, you've seen that we're doing roll call voting. It just makes things a lot cleaner for the clerks and such. We need to select a vice chair. So how about we start with, is anybody interested in being vice chair?
I'd be interested.
Okay, there's somebody who's interested. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Larry Jarnes.
Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. Jarnes. Are
I
there?
nominate myself.
I think you're good. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I kind of like the way Tom's been handling things.
Okay,
So I'll nominate Tom for vice chair.
okay, all right. So how do we handle this normally? Okay.
That's never happened before.
Okay,
I guess
all
we
right.
could go around and everybody can, we can call the roll and people can say who they are voting for.
Or, okay, all right. We have two nominations for, okay. We'll do a roll call vote on the first one. So for Larry Jarnes for vice chair, clerk will call the roll, and then after that, we'll, if we need to, is that satisfactory? We'll call it on the second one? All right, let's do that. Let's call the roll for Larry Jarnes for vice chair.
Julie Braga,
No.
Mayor Andrew Connors,
Yes.
Tom Hermanson,
Well, I would imagine, Mr. Hermanson, if you would want to be vice chair, then, it'll be up to that vote, and then that dictates how everyone else would vote.
All right, Larry, you don't have my vote, let's go around. Sorry, no.
Larry Jarnes,
Yes.
Alex Littross,
No.
Mayor Rob Medina,
Nay?
Wayne Sword,
No.
Keith Winston, and Commissioner Feldman.
Larry, I'd vote for you, but I think you don't have the votes today.
have enough.
So I think what we can do at this point, we'll close that, and we'll show Mr. Herman's as the vice chair. Or do you want to vote for yourself? Okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you. Congratulations, sir. All right.
Do it again next year.
We'll do it again next year. Okay.
This is my first time back. Why not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Mr.
welcome
Chair?
back. We appreciate it.
Would you like to have a vote on Mr. Hermanson?
All right, Alex, raising the point, we'll go ahead and call the roll for
Well,
Mr.
I made the
Hermanson.
motion, someone, I guess, would
Okay.
have to second it. Is that correct?
Okay, all right.
I'll second it.
Okay, Larry, okay. Mayor Medina makes a motion, and Mr. Jarnes seconds. We'll call for Mr. Hermanson, call the roll.
Julie Braga,
Yes.
Mayor Andrew Connors,
Yes.
Tom Hermanson,
Yes.
Larry Jarnes,
Yes.
Alex Littross,
Yes.
Mayor Rob Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Yes.
Keith Winston, Commissioner Feldman.
Yes. Now, congratulations, sir. Sorry, it's not like speaker. You know, when they do speaker, everybody else steps aside and they say, we'll go ahead and we'll support the guy who's going to be speaker. So, all right, Peter.
Yes, sir, thank you. Just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. There's a couple of STR reports. I'm not going to really go into those, but those are always going to be in your packet. We get weekly STR reports, and then if there's a monthly that's available for that given month, we'll provide that. So those are there in your packet for your perusal at your pleasure. I wanted to highlight, though, on page 14, TDT report. We have had 4 consecutive months of up numbers for TDT. We were up 10.6% in October, which was our first month of the fiscal, and then November we're up 9.4%. I will share that December is also tracking to be ahead of the prior year, probably not quite in that same range, might be more in the 5 to 6% range, but we'll see when the numbers come in a couple of weeks. But good start to the fiscal year, and December, if December were up, that would be the 5th consecutive month of up. So that's good news. I think we're tracking in a good direction. As far as budget is on pages 15 and 16. Of course, we're only, a quarter into our fiscal, so not a lot of big expenditures. Our fall campaign was the biggest expenditure so far, and that is coming to a close. We had some media that was running through the end of this month, and then we'll, kick into spring and summer, which obviously spring is a big season of spending for media, and summer, of course, as well. So not a lot to report on the budget side. Everything's looking pretty good so far, but we'll obviously keep everybody updated, and these monthly reports will be in this packet every month. With that, sir, I think that other than questions, that's all I had for under my report this month.
Do we have anything from the subcommittees, or is that?
No, sir, we did not have a lot of subcommittee meetings. Usually later in the year, the subcommittees kind of wind down, and we did not have a lot of subcommittee meetings, but I'm happy to jump into item 3 if that's your pleasure. We'll talk a little bit about them and
That's fine.
get some feedback. So, I wanted this on typically what happens is in February, the TDC selects their members of subcommittees. But before we did that, I wanted to have a discussion this month about which subcommittees we would like to have meet. And as you recall, last year we had the marketing support program that kind of took the place of both cultural and sports grants, and it sort of circumvented the process, and so we did not have a lot of cultural and sports committee meetings because that's typically what they meet about. I think we're going to be in a similar situation this year. I think we'll be bringing back the MSP, and we'll certainly be looking at that program for enhancements and changes to the criteria. But I believe we'll be in the same position where we won't be sending, the grants, grant applications to the committees. So it was staff's thought and suggestion that we would suspend cultural and sports committees for this year, but I obviously need the TDC's thoughts and ultimate vote to do that because it's part of the operating procedures of the TDC to have those meetings. So I just want to make sure we're good with not having them. So I guess I'll leave. I'll just start it with cultural and sports and let the committee weigh in, and then if there could be a vote on that, then we could decide, how to handle.
Discussion on, Julie.
I have a question. If their committees are disbanded, then who will be overseeing or looking through the grants that are submitted under those categories?
So the way it worked last year, the MSP was very focused on looking at out-of-county attendees and room nights as part of the application process. And then we brought, based on those numbers, we brought that to the TDC to actually review. So that was reviewed and voted on by the TDC directly. And I believe we'd probably follow that same procedure again.
And follow-up question. Based on what the commission is going to review out of the workshop, is there a potential change in that grant process?
I think there were some suggested changes at the workshop, and I certainly defer to the commissioner, but there were some suggested changes to the criteria potentially. Certainly some interesting discussion, particularly whether the program is exclusively just marketing support, or would there be an opportunity to get some reimbursement for other expenses? That was one of the topics that was brought up at the workshop. Could be, other changes as far as lowering the number of out-of-county attendees. That was that was something that was looked at. There was also some discussion about some portion of the budget being allocated to commissioners to support events that are in their local district. And that's something that could come up. So, there were definitely a number of discussions about changing the criteria, but not necessarily changing the flow or the process.
Okay, thank you.
Tom?
If the subcommittees aren't required to do the work of grading, and if there's not going to be funding, then recommend just can pause the committees, put them on hiatus until they're required again, and bring them back.
I think that's a smart, pragmatic approach for now. Obviously, not for nothing, we have a new board of county commissioners that changed. We got 3 out of 5 new members, so I think we're still seeing how things go. The 28th, it'll be interesting to see how they want to handle all of those prior grants. I think it'll be pretty predictable. But the new board, I think there was a general feeling at the workshop that we had that there were some smaller groups that sort of fell through the cracks, and not bad groups or bad events. And so I think they want to find a way to, in the future, to try to prevent that from happening, which I suggested that's something really for this board to take up in the spring. We're just sort of not there yet. So with that said, sir, would you make that as a motion? And
Yes, I'll move that cultural and sports committee grants, to the extent required, are handled by the TDC, and subcommittees are, until further notice, paused.
I'll second.
all right, Sir.
Mr. Chair, I did want to just briefly discuss that overview that you just briefly mentioned. The cultural grants that you'll be faced with in the upcoming commission meeting, that's for pretty much reimbursements of events that have already gone on. Is that correct?
I think there's some of that, but there's some coming up.
Right, yeah, we still have a number of, still 9 months, 8.5 months left in the fiscal, so there's still quite a few events that are to be had that would be able to receive marketing support should the board approve those. And then I think there were about a dozen or so events that have already occurred, and those would be reimbursable.
Okay, all right. And so when that discussion came of each district commissioner having a pot, is that part of the plan? So to speak, to partner up with the different events, the local events, such as the northern events,
We had-
southern events?
I had suggested, because there was about $100,000 that we could appropriate for these different events. It's just a nice round number. We have 5 commissioners, and I thought that they could each identify up to $20,000 for these groups, and that we bring it to the board on the 28th to vote on, and that would be a good way to do it. And by the way, that doesn't mean $20,000 necessarily in your district.
Understood.
That just means each commissioner. And I said it publicly, so I'll say it here again. As an example, I think the Melbourne Art Show is a very nice event in Wickham Park. That's one of them that just fell through the cracks with the way things changed. So that's something that I would support. So it's no harder than that. That's not necessarily the way it's going to be going forward for the whole year. That's just where we are with the new board and with those monies that we can appropriate.
Understood, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other discussion on that? Okay, we had a motion by Mr. Hermanson, and we're clear on the motion, right? And we had a second by
Yes.
Mayor Medina. We call the roll.
Julie Braga,
Yes?
Mayor Andrew Connors,
Yes.
Tom Hermanson,
Yes.
Larry Jarnes,
Yes.
Alex Littross,
Yes.
Mayor Rob Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Yes.
Keith Winston, Commissioner Rob Feldman.
Yes, and we'll show that passes unanimously. Thank you for that.
And then, so next up, sir, is the Capital Facilities Committee, and I wanted to point out, on page 18 in your packet, we do a projection, just based on all the projects that have previously been awarded and what's sort of left in the pot, if you will, for future projects. And if you look, the top is just the revenue, so that's just how we get to the revenue. It's a net revenue numbers, just under 12 million is what we had. And then if you look at all these events, these are either expenses related to things that were previously approved. So in the case of Vieira Park, that's debt service. There was a 10-year loan that we took out to build the number of fields with AstroTurf. And then there are a couple of other projects that are amortized over multiple years. So in the case of the aquarium, if you were here previously, the aquarium got $15 million total, but that's over a course of 10 years. So that's $1.5 million per year. The U.S. Law Enforcement Foundation, they're, doing a lot of construction at the Police Hall of Fame, et cetera, there. That was a 5-year $1 million per year project that was awarded. So last year, the payments started, and they will continue for 4 more years. Brightline, that was awarded $5 million. They have 2 more years to break ground on that project. Obviously, they had some funding issues with the grant not being received. There was a federal grant they did not receive, but they're going to be going back after that. So they have 2 more years to break ground. Cape Canaveral Lighthouse, last year, they received $775,000. They'll most likely be spending that this year. Veterans Memorial Park had just under $2.5 million that they were awarded in 2 different tranches, and they will most likely be spending that this year. Maybe some might bleed into next year. And then there was about $710,000 that was allocated to lifeguards from this budget for this fiscal year that we're in. So basically, that left us sort of at almost a zero balance. We will, if we continue to see growth in TDT, we would potentially have some growth next year, and that would result in a couple $100,000, but still, with all of the payouts that we have, it really wouldn't be enough for a capital facility, full capital facilities grant program, if you will. Those grants start at $250,000 on up, so there really wouldn't be enough for that. And you can see over the couple of years, in a couple of years, it'll build back up, and we'll be back, with some money in that account as you look forward. But obviously, this is an optimistic, we put in a 3% growth rate. If something happened that, we had a negative growth for some reason, then obviously that would change. But this is just looking in a more positive way that we would have 3% growth over each year for the next few years. So with that, again, not really having a large amount of money to award in a grant program, the question would be about, do we need the Capital Facilities Committee to meet?
Mr. Hermanson.
Make a motion to pause the Capital Facilities Committee until there's funds that can be reviewed or applications that have funds to receive until further notice.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Tom to postpone the Capital Facilities Committee. We have a second by Mayor Medina. Will you call the roll?
Julie Braga,
Yes.
Mayor Andrew Connors,
Yes.
Tom Hermanson,
Yes.
Larry Johns,
Yes.
Alex Lipros,
Yes.
Mayor Rob Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Yes.
Keith Winston, Commissioner Rob Felton.
Yes. We'll show that passes unanimously. Right.
Thank you, sir. And then the next discussion, the Beach Improvement Committee, typically the Beach Committee opines on Indian River Lagoon grants and that program. That program has been suspended for the last 2 years, mostly due to storm damage that we received in 2022, a large portion of that budget being allocated and spent. That budget has, I would say, somewhat recovered. We have about $8.5 million this year in reserves, and I think we'll have a positive cash flow in the cash portion of that budget. Even though we've got some projects going on, always compliment Mike. Mike McGarry's been doing a great job of working with the Army Corps and the feds and FEMA, and we believe, most of the projects that are going on right now are either being covered by the feds or we will get reimbursement over the next couple of years from some of the projects that we're doing in the south part of the county, particularly from FEMA. So I think, it's safe to say I think we're in relatively good shape in that department. I would just leave it to the TDC if they would like to at least see if a beach committee would like to meet and make recommendations about what to do with the IRL grants. Last year they did meet and they made recommendations. It was ultimately decided by the board not to move forward with them, but But, the TDC can certainly, again, ask a beach committee to meet and give recommendations.
Any questions on that? Any discussion?
I mean, I'll speak on behalf of the beach committee as the former chair last year serving. I think it's really, really important that we keep our eye on that ball, and even working with Mike to make sure that the money is going to the best use. So I'm in favor of a beach committee meeting to evaluate where we are, and of course, having, the commission's wisdom as to what they'd like us to do with that ultimately. But, a portion, we kind of circumvented the process a little bit because some of the money did go to the derelict boat program, which is an incredibly great program. But it went off cycle from the grant process, which I think, is really a really great use of that money. I want to see those boats out of the Indian River Lagoon just like everyone else. But I think it would be good to have a beach committee just to be a counsel to that and be able to review that information in more detail and make the recommendations to the TDC. So I'm in favor of it, but support whatever anybody, the council wants to do.
Mr. Chair?
Sir?
So, Ms. Julie, excuse me, your meetings would enhance the communication with Mr. Mike from Brevard County, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and we have a really good group of people that are really smart and can, look at the whole picture and outside of this meeting and just have time to evaluate. Sorry, I'm not my best. To evaluate, the money coming in from FEMA, and, we look at all the different aspects of that and how we would proceed forward with the recommendation to the commission. It's not necessarily, but it just gives it a little bit more time to look at where we are, how much money we have, how much money is coming back in. And, Mike runs a really great program, but it is, I think, very helpful. It's been helpful for me to learn all the different aspects of what goes into those decisions, because we've looked at the 50-year plan while I've been on the TDC, and, it's constantly changing. It's not stagnant by any way. It's kind of like the tide. In and out.
Copy that, ma'am.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So I would, Mr. Chair, I think, because Julie has chaired that committee, that subcommittee for a long time, and her passion, as everyone can see, speaks right through. Without our beaches, there is no Brevard County, right? So, and if we have such a dedicated group, I would support that, for that committee to continue to meet.
And it
And
doesn't
work
have to
closely
be-
with Mike.
It doesn't have to be like 4 meetings or, anything like that. Just a meeting to evaluate what recommendation we want to move forward with the money that's been coming in. And then if there's I always say, if we have a follow-up meeting to kind of look at next year based on what we have available for funds, and just kind of keep our finger on the pulse of those ever-changing requirements that we all feel so passionately about, keeping the sand on the beach, which will always be the #1 goal of the committee.
And I'm very supportive of that, too. I've told some people that maybe haven't been here as long that, when I was working at the hotel, and, down there in the Atlantic, one of the most amazing weather phenomena that I've ever seen in my life was, so Hurricane Irene, remember that wasn't supposed to be here, and that happened in, I think, 99. And it was late. My recollection was it was the beginning of November, and it wasn't supposed to come, it entered through the West Coast and wasn't supposed to come out over Brevard. It was supposed to go north or something like that. So nobody put lawn chairs away or any of that kind of stuff. And we were just going to have wind. But, and we had damage to that hotel. But on the beach, every grain of sand was gone. And I actually stepped off of the last step of the stairs out back on the beach, and it was like a 4-foot drop. And normally that's covered up. and it was just gone. It was all coquina. But incredibly, something like 2 weeks later, it all washed back up.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like that. It looks like the beach. Now, the rocks we had out back were still there. It didn't cover those up, but the beach was back. So, and I'm a big advocate for the sea grapes. They're great along the beach. So, I don't disagree with you. So this committee, you think they could meet twice a year, something like that? Maybe meet in the summer and then again in the fall?
What happens is if after the first meeting, determinant of the grant, we would make the recommendation if the commission supported, if we have the money for the Indian River Lagoon grant process and the commission supports it, then we have that process that we have to do also. But if we go into it and the meeting outcome is that, no, we're not going to move forward with the Indian River Lagoon grant process, then we could just have another meeting later in the year just to kind of decide and touch point for the next year. Because, it's every single year. It doesn't go away. It's just kind of changing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a meeting that meets, it just would be fluent on what the outcome is and how the commission supports how we move forward.
Fair enough. So what's the committee comprised of? Who's the members of?
Well,
Or if you
So
remember.
all of our
Sorry.
subcommittees, sir, the chair selects the chair of the TDC selects the chair of the subcommittee.
Okay.
And then the other 8 members of the TDC select a member to serve. So it's 9 members, each subcommittee is 9 members.
Separate from themselves, they pick a community member?
Usually a community
Oh,
member, yes,
okay,
sir.
all right.
They
Okay,
can't pick themselves, right?
I'm sorry.
TDC members can pick
TDC
themselves.
members can, yes, that has
you
happened,
can be your
yes.
own delegate?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
If you want to put the,
Okay, I'm in favor of
No.
keeping it. So can I pick Ms. Braga today?
Yes, sir, you
Okay.
certainly can.
All right.
Thank
Can you
you, sir.
accept that?
I do, thank you.
Okay, I don't think we need to vote on that, or do we?
No,
need-
sir.
Okay,
That's
that's
your
just
selection, yeah.
prerogative, okay.
Yep.
All right, and then, so to be determined when they need to meet.
Right.
And-
We got to review where we are and what recommendations we want to move forward based on how much money we have, and then what the commission decides if they
Yeah.
agree or not.
Okay,
Yeah,
and-
staff can work with the chair to set a meeting,
Yeah.
March-ish, March, April, something like
so,
that.
so how about by the next meeting, though, for the rest of you, you'll have your community person, or if it's yourself, that's going to serve on the beach improvement committee. Okay, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Good.
That would be helpful, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And then last but not least, sir, is the marketing committee, and staff will just say, we appreciate the marketing committee. They provide insight and feedback into the marketing plan that we're required to bring to the TDC and the board. Every year, we usually bring that in the July to the TDC and then August to the board. And leading up to that, we usually have several meetings where, the people on the committee normally have a marketing expertise, and they provide feedback and input to us up front before we write the plan, and then we present the plan to them, and they provide feedback on the plan and give us some guidance there, and then ultimately then the TDC approves that. So from a staff perspective, that's a good committee to have for us. It gives us some good sounding boards from the community. So, but obviously open to any thoughts that TDC may have.
Any questions on that? Discussion on that item from anybody? I tend to agree. I think we should keep the marketing committee, so we'll just continue on with that.
Yes, sir. You'll
Do-
just have to select a chair whenever, you don't have to do it today, but whenever you feel like it. Keith Winston has served the last 2 years, but, it could be,
I could see the look that you would be. So, Mr. Hermanson, will chair that?
thank you.
Okay. And now, same thing, we need to come up with our members
Yes,
of
sir.
that.
Same.
Can we
same
do
thing.
that by the next meeting also, so that's in place? Everybody
Yes, sir.
agrees? Okay. All right. I think, Peter, if I'm not wrong, we're moving into public comments.
Yes, sir. That's the next item.
Is there anyone do we have any public comment card? Anyone on public comment today? Okay, we'll go, is there any other business for TDC that I'm missing?
No, sir.
We'll go to board reports then, so we'll just go, let's go clockwise. Mr. Sword, board report.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Jarnes.
I do not have a report.
Okay. Mayor Medina.
So I'd just like to keep it on your calendars that pretty soon we'll be doing a ribbon cutting celebration of our Sacrifice Park. TDC did provide $250,000 grants towards Sacrifice Park. And so please keep that in mind within the next 6 to 8 weeks, we plan on having that ribbon cutting. Barring the construction still goes through. Right now, we have the amphitheater just about already laid out, so progress is really going well on the Sacrifice Park in Palm Bay.
Now-
So thank you all.
How many can the amphitheater accommodate?
Say again?
If it was a sold-out event, how many people can
Well,
they?
it's not that large of a venue, sir, so I don't have those numbers.
Okay.
But it's more of a, I would imagine the surrounding area about 200 folks.
For a show at the amphitheater?
Well, I wouldn't say a show,
Okay.
but.
A quartet?
We're going to have tour
Okay.
de force,
Okay.
law enforcement individuals that come through every
Okay.
year. Those are one of the events. We plan on having our Patriots Awards ceremony there as well.
Now, will you be hosting other events, outdoor events?
Yes, sir.
That kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Community events?
Absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Dignified community events,
Agreed.
patriotic events.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Because it is a memorial as well.
Okay, very, very good. Peter?
Well, first of all, I wanted to welcome Mayor Connors onto the TDC. He's new, we provided anybody that's new to the commission, we provide a notebook with all kinds of great information. If you want to stay after, I'm happy to walk you through that. Larry, welcome back. You have received that in the past. If you want any updates, you can stay after as well. Coming forward, next meeting is February 26th at 2 p.m. right here in the Florida Room. And then I also, on the agenda, listed the rest of the meetings for the remainder of the year. I believe there is one meeting that is not going to be able to occur in this room, but we will certainly notice the meeting and make anybody aware of any changes to venue that may be occurring. But next meeting's right here at 2, so that's all I had, sir.
Okay, Julie?
No report.
Mr. Littrus?
Nothing to report.
Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to serve on this council, and just like any other mayor, you want to brag about your city a little bit. So we have 3 new hotels in the works that I'm very excited about, and a couple more that I kind of know about that are coming. We have an event center that has already broken ground. I'm very excited about, and $75 million expansion for our Titusville Playhouse that they're actively working on. So we have some big things coming in Titusville, and I'm really looking forward to putting Titusville back on the map and just reminding everybody else down here that, we're still the county seat and we're going to do big things. So thank you very much.
Tell us about your event center. How many people would that accommodate?
I mean, easily 500.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a-
Indoor space or?
Indoor space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under air, they can accommodate a sit-down banquet for 500?
Yep.
Okay,
Valley Air
yep.
Command is putting that
Oh,
together.
okay. All right.
And, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of folks across the river that are very excited about that.
Okay.
Funded with TDC funds.
Yes,
You remember.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mr. Hermanson?
I would just chime in that a slow start to 25, at least in our market. Pacing forward in the first quarter is well below last year. So hopefully that turns around. But I think everybody in the hotel business is hoping that 25 is flat to last year and not down.
What do you think accounts for that? I know we've had these conversations many times off. Is it a
I
late,
think it's.
late
you know,
spring
it's-
break, any of
it's-
that kind of stuff?
Late spring breaks always helps, always advocating for a later celebration of Easter. Nobody's listening to me yet. You know, we fixed Christmas, but Easter seems to move by 4 weeks every year. Later the better, but.
We'll call the Pope,
you know,
okay? When we're done.
Generally
Right.
pull back in last minute transient travel. You know, we've been seeing signs since the middle of last year and just slower forward bookings.
Okay. Well,
Offset by heavy activity at the Space Center in our neck of the woods,
Right.
which serves the whole, you know, there's definitely compression there. Increased activity there is going to
cool
offset.
weather affect cruise?
Not cruise, but it
yeah,
definitely affects your weekend last minute traveler.
Yeah. The last minute travelers for sure, but for the folks who are trying to escape the cold, I mean, because it's a balmy 55 out there today in Brevard County. So, I mean, they had snow in Tallahassee. I'm expecting refugees to come down I-75 here within the week. So, anything else, sir, that you'd like to add to that? Well, the only other thing that I would say to you is I think we had a very good workshop with the Board of Commissioners for discussing the grants. I appreciate the staff, Peter.
Thank you, sir.
Putting that together for us. I think that went very well, and I try to give everybody a chance to sort of make a plug for their event, you know, what the dates are, when it is, all that sort of thing. So a lot of good things coming up in Brevard County. With that, I don't have anything else. Peter, you already mentioned the next date. Is there a motion to adjourn? All right, Mr. Mayor Medina makes a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hermanson,
Second.
thought you were going to say that. And let's call the roll real quick, or do we need to?
I think you can gavel it.
All right, let's just gavel it. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.